it is a very, as usual, emotional case. What can you preview about what M&A is actually dealing with case-wise in this episode?
Case-wise, this episode, we are trying to bring home a young man who is doing his best to be himself in his truest form, and is he's being profiled from many different aspects. I think this episode is very, very special because it really shines a light on how there are layers of what that can look like, and someone who's not able to speak for themselves thoroughly and properly, or in a way to communicate, I should say, that other people are responsive to. You never know how that can go and how it can be perceived, or what it turns into, or even what it looks like on camera. So I think this episode really shines a light on how we can learn to better see things not with just our eyes, but obviously our hearts. You got to look at the whole picture before you make a decision.
Absolutely. Well, and there's this ticking clock kind of in the background with Gabby knowing that she has to turn herself in. How is that impacting both the investigation and also all the people who work with her as they're aware that this could be close to the end of their time with her as a free woman?
I think that clock, with M&A, has been ticking for quite a while now. In the background, now it's on Front Street and it's actually happening. And with that being said, I think we're going to be pushed to the limits from an emotional standpoint, how we focus on the job at hand versus how we care about ourselves. And I think that's the balance that M&A has. How much focus do you put in yourself versus the other people? And for the longest time, we've really been focused on putting our stuff to the side while we really focus on the job at hand, which is trying to bring these people home. So I think today's episode is really going to come to a head. We're going to have to make a choice of, how do we do both things very well? What something has to give.
Absolutely. Well, and as a preview, you have a lovely scene with Kelly. What can you kind of tease about the scene that we get in this episode between Zeke and Margaret?
The scene between Zeke and Margaret is a special one. It was great to shoot, number one, to begin with, because we just played ball off of each other really, really well. What I loved about it is it really does showcase, the love that M&A, what we have for each other. That even though there's this distance where Zeke has been in his space, he's been connecting with everybody. We saw it with Don. We saw it with Lacey. We've seen it with Gabby, and now here we are seeing it specifically with Margaret's character. And you're seeing them hug each other. You know what I'm saying, in a real way that you haven't seen before. So it's a very, very special scene, and I get to really applaud her for who she is and what she means to the team.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the team dynamic, and it's something that I imagine might be interesting, but also challenging for you, both good and bad, as an actor, because so often Zeke is isolated from the team in a physical sense. For you, as you've been discovering this character and this world in these two seasons, what has your process been to stay as connected with your castmates as possible, even when you're not physically in the same room with them?
Thankfully, everyone on the other side of the wall with Zeke, they're so supportive. They make sure that I am connected to them one way or the other. If things are going on over there, someone is texting me. I can hear them. I can see them. And then in between takes, if I have enough time, they're either coming over to me or I'm coming over to them, and we get to really hang out and talk about it and be in those moments. And once my coverage truly is finished at Zeke, I make my way over to Mosley and Associates, and I'm actually there in person doing the scenes with them. So that connection really truly is there. But it also helps me at the same time to have that isolation when I am, doing the work of Zeke and being by myself and knowing what that feels like and what that emotional toll that he carried, what that weight is. So I get to have the best of both worlds. It helps me lean into Zeke, but at the same time I make sure that I give myself the space and energy to still connect with the team as well too.